Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, my name is Terry Taylor. I work with the Small Business Administration and am happy to be here for the Small Business Development Center to give you this presentation on the SBA's Woman-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. Uh, Initially, we're going to start with just a general overview and discuss some of the changes that have been made for this program. One thing I do want to specify at the very beginning is that this program is for women-owned small businesses that are predominantly interested in working as primes for the federal government or are working as a subcontractor for large primes doing business with the federal government. And the reason being is there are set-asides for certification programs in socioeconomic categories, which create a goaling system. And nationwide, there's a targeted goal of 23% for all small businesses. Now, underneath that umbrella goal, we have 4 different types of set-asides that are used, and the federal government has procurement goals within that 23% small business goal, and 5% of that is for woman-owned small businesses. 5% for small disadvantaged, 3% for HUBZone, and 3% for service disabled veteran own small businesses. Now, large primes that do business with the federal government, they get contracts that are over 750,000. They're subject to subcontracting plans, and they have these small business overall goal with the categories as well. Now, their subcontracting goal percentages vary contract by contract, but the purpose of the program is to assist the federal government and the large primes to reach these goals. It's a tool to be used. In 2019, we had a historic high of usage of women-owned small business in federal, prime federal contracting. It hit 26 billion. There were over 15,000 woman-owned small business prime contractors. They exceeded the 5% goal, and the top 5 agencies, I'm happy to say SBA was #1. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, OPM, Department of the Interior, and Department of Housing and Urban Development were close behind us, but we did a good job at SBA utilizing the woman-owned small businesses. Now, the purpose of the program is, again, to allow, not only the federal government, but the women-owned small businesses to take advantage of the annual prime contracting goals, to help women-owned small businesses build capacity and grow, and to provide you access to set-asides for women-owned small businesses and economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. Now, you might be thinking, well, I'm a woman-owned small business. If I'm a woman-owned small business, am I just a woman-owned small business or an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business as well? Well, actually, economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business is a subset of the woman-owned small business. If you are an economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business, you're automatically a woman-owned small business. But we're going to discuss the criteria in a little more detail. But if you're just a woman-owned small business and don't meet the economic disadvantage criteria, you're not considered an EDWSC. So it's the EDWSC is the subset of the WOSB. And to, kind of further, I don't want to say complicate things, but this program does not apply industry-wide. There have been surveys and whatnot, and they've picked out specific industry codes, and they've assigned these codes as either woman-owned small business codes or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business codes. So we'll get in a little more detail on that, but that is confusing from the get-go for small women-owned small businesses. So recently we've been doing some improvements, and these improvements were initiated by the National Defense Authorization Act in 2015. And the regulations were updated. It did away with the self-certification process in the federal government for woman-owned or EDWOSB set-asides. It strengthens the oversight to prevent companies that are not truly women-owned small businesses from participating in the program. And, these regulations were published. We've updated, we've made changes, we've created a database, and we updated the new procedures in May of 2020 in the Federal Register. So what has happened is we've created a new online certification system that's free to women-owned small businesses or economically disadvantaged women-owned small business through a portal called betacertify.sba.gov. Prior to Beta Certified, women-owned small businesses were able to upload their documents into a system called certify.sba.gov. That process is no longer valid. You need to move to the Beta Certify environment. And all woman-owned small business firms that have been working with the federal government need to take action in the new portal, the Beta Certify, in order to compete for the WOSB contracting program set-asides. If you don't take this action, you won't be able to get an award if you're the apparent successful offerer. So the self-certified firms and EDWOSB that previously uploaded their documents in certify.sba.gov will still be able to access those documents to download and save and move to the Beta Certify program until the end of this month. That ability is going to go away March 31st in 2021. You'll no longer be able to retrieve them. Now, if you previously got a contract before the new implementation of Beta Certify, your certification, your self-certification, your third-party certification, whatever you had, will remain in effect to allow you to complete that contract. You still have to move to the Beta Certify system, but you are by law required to complete those contracts, and it's just not fair to remove any status from you. But you do need to take action in the Beta Certify. If you bid on any new contracts, you most definitely need to get your documents submitted and become certified through the new free online process at betacertify.gov. Now, you're probably thinking, well, this is going to be, an overload of the system's going to be overload. And we still maintain the third-party certification option. You can still pursue the third-party certification. We have 4 approved certifiers, so these are the only ones SBA will recognize for the purposes of this program. And let me stress, that's for the purposes of this program only. And that's the El Paso Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the National Women Business Owners Corporation, the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce, and Women's Business Enterprise National Council. Now, I want to put something in here. When I talk to women-owned small businesses that are wanting to pursue a certification, I stress that they should allow their target customer to determine what certification they go for. So if you contact one of these third-party certifiers, I recommend you have a conversation with them and tell them who you're trying to target, because many of them do one certification for SBA's program, and they do another for customers that you may be attempting to target. Another widely accepted certification that does not work for the federal government at all in the woman-owned small business federal prime contracting program is you can contact your state for their WBE certification. And there's typically no charge for that certification either. There is a charge to use one of these third-party certifiers. If you're currently third-party certified for the federal contracting program, with active contracts, as we stated before, you will remain certified during the duration, but to bid on new contracts, you will have to upload your unexpired WOSB or ED-WOSB third-party certification documentation and BETA certified to bid on new contracts. Other certifications that we allow in this program is, of course, the SBA's 8A development certification program. If you're a woman-owned small business that's been certified by the SBA as an 8A program participant, you will either upload your initial approval letter, or if it's past a year and you've experienced an annual review, you will upload your annual review approval letter. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Center has their verification and evaluation certification that verifies that firms are definitely veteran-owned firms. As long as you meet the woman-owned criteria in that program, just like you have to meet the woman-owned criteria in the 8A business development program, you can upload your certification documentation from the Department of Veterans Affairs. We do have a little change in resources. Of course, you can contact your regional and district offices. We have some FAQs and things posted on BETA Certified. There's a fact sheet. SBA has a new initiative called WOSB Ready. And in that initiative, SBA is trying to get the word out about the change in the certification process and how to, take advantage and outreach and things to improve women's longevity in business, regardless of whether you're using the federal contracting program or not. And essentially, it's a campaign. And they're wanting to raise awareness. They've partnered with Women Impacting Public Policy and American Express on initiatives like Challenge Her. I'm going to put in a plug for Marcia Stevens. WSU's SBDC has hosted all of the Challenge Her competitions we've had in the state of Kansas. They're hosting events across the country and working on expanding partnerships with stakeholders and sharing updates on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter pages. In other words, they're trying to get information out that will assist women-owned small businesses in their development and growth. It's an SBA campaign. So, are you eligible for the woman-owned small business certification? Well, there are some things you need to consider before applying, because this is a certification used for federal purchasing. You want to make sure that you're able to show you have the managerial experience to run your company. Now that if you've been running your company, you've got the managerial experience. That you hold the highest officer position. If you're a woman-owned small business, you need to be the highest officer, whether it's 1 or 5 of you that have the ownership. You need to be the bosses. And then the proper NAICS codes. NAICS codes are your national the NAICS codes are the national, oh my gosh, I just went blank, but they're industry codes. Every industry has been assigned a NAICS code by the federal government. Now, they're a little broad. They don't get real specific, but they pretty much encompass everything. And with this program, as I noted earlier, it doesn't apply to all industry codes. So if you're not in an industry that the program is used, it's not really worth your time to get certified by this, because contracts will not be set aside for you to bid on using the program. You have to meet the ownership requirements. You need to be sure that the company is 51% owned by women owners, and that these owners have full-time management and control of the daily operations. You need to be on the job and running the business. And related to the managerial experience is, unlike many of the certification programs, SBA does not require a year in business, 2 years in business. There's no minimum time that you need to be in business to participate in this program. Your main concern is if you have the capacity and ability to do business with the federal government. So what are some of the requirements to be deemed economically disadvantaged? Well, your personal net worth needs to be less than $750,000. Your 3-year average income is $350,000 or less. So we take your total income from all sources for 3 years and divide it by 3. Now, if you're an S Corp or an LLC, the funds that are retained in the business are not considered your income. And the fair market value of all your assets is $6 million or less. So I want to go into a little more detail. I kind of added this slide because, you know, personal net worth less than $750,000, it doesn't really break down what is removed from that personal net worth. So your equity ownership interest in your firm, that does not count towards your personal net worth. That is just subtracted right off. Your equity interest in your primary residential resident, that does not count towards your personal net worth either. What you do when you have a balance sheet is you have an asset side and you have a liability side. And when you list the market value of your house, you list the mortgage on the other side. So your mortgage is already being written off your personal net worth. So we just take the difference between the market value and your mortgage, and we subtract that off as well. And we do not consider your funds invested in retirement accounts as part of your personal net worth. So, you know, if you're thinking, wow, that's hard number to reach, to be less than $750,000 because my business is worth this and my home is worth this, I'm probably not going to qualify. When you remove these 3 factors from your personal net worth calculation, you might be surprised and find that you, for the purposes of this program, are considered economically disadvantaged. So there is an application and certification process. First, like anybody doing any business with the federal government, you have to get registered in SAM. You need to go to Beta Certify, and I will say that they do have some good improvements in this new site that I'm glad you're on the presentation today, because what I'm finding is people that have went to the site and are not aware of the new improvements are not getting to take advantage of them. One is on the home page. You know, from the home page, you can access checklists that provide guidance. You can verify your eligibility. There's an Am I Eligible? You can find answers to questions regarding your firm's ability to participate, request information from SBA by submitting a help form, create your account and proceed with your application. And where you find most of this, the eligibility test is on the front page, but all of this is contained in the betacertified.gov knowledge base. And many ladies that are going in to upload their certification, they don't access that knowledge base, and it kind of puts them at a detriment in there, and a lot of errors are happening with the applications. So up front, you can take some interactive links here to even check out if you're 8A eligible, the woman-owned, or the hub zone. In the knowledge bank, you can find the checklist, and the information on the documents as you need to begin. It has the getting started where you can, has the directions to get a DUNS number and register in SAM, and I can't read this, create your SBA account in Beta Certify. So, you know, when an application is submitted, it goes through a process. Your application is submitted and it shows a pending status within Beta Certify itself. A screener will get the application and they will contact you and possibly ask for more documentation or clarification. SBA will make a determination within 90 calendar days after the completed application, where the processor has determined, the screener, you know, she's determined you got all the docs, but that's all the screener is doing. So the analyst will get it, they will review it. They again may ask you for more information, but within 90 calendar days after a complete application, you can expect it to be done. Now, what they have done that is good is they're at this time, Beta Certify and SAM showing the woman-owned small business status has not been rectified. So the portal of authority is going to be SBA's dynamic small business search system. And this is the web link for the DSBS. And once your application is deemed to have all the necessary paperwork and move forward, in DSBS, it will show as WOSB pending and or EDWOSB pending. So here you are, you've got an application in, it's pending, you're the apparent successful offerer on a contract. What's going to happen? Well, contracting officers have a special email that they can send to SBA and say, this woman-owned small business is the apparent successful offerer on our contracts, but the DSBS is not showing them as certified yet. And SBA will accelerate your application and get it processed for the contracting officer within 15 days. Now, that doesn't guarantee that you will be certified as woman-owned small business. If a company is not a true woman-owned small business, it may not be certified, but as a woman-owned small business, I think that would be something you would appreciate, because we want to eliminate the companies that are not truly woman-owned small businesses from taking your contracts from you. So the tips to complete a successful application is you've got to claim your business in Beta Certify, and you know that of course requires the DUNS number and SAM. And once you've created a SAM account, you need to keep that updated every year. Otherwise, all this is just going to go defunct. And it notes a user guide in sections. I receive a lot of calls from women-owned small businesses that have applied. Unfortunately for me, as a field employee, I do not even have read access to determine if a woman-owned small business has, one, uploaded the documentation into the proper system. I have found cases where the woman-owned small business has went to certify and uploaded their documents instead of Beta Certify. I can't check to see if you submitted the application correctly or anything. But what I have found is that when I get a user guide to these ladies, I have yet to find one that hasn't been able to rectify the problem, because the user guide is complete and it is good, but this transition happened so quick. I mean, we've been talking about it since 2015, and the transition happened so quick that most of the women-owned small businesses that have already used the system had no idea a user guide existed. So, you know, the woman-owned small business owner, the woman-owned business owner doesn't always have the time or really want to take the steps to complete the application. You might have somebody on staff that handles your federal work for you. So the business owner can create one account for herself and claim the business. Once that account is created and you begin the application, you're asked if you want to delegate to someone else to work on the application, which you can. However, that individual cannot submit the application for you. You have to log in as yourself again and complete, the application where you'll attest to it and actually submit it. I have had horrible incidents where women have put their application in and it shows everything is complete, but this final step has not been completed. So the application hasn't even been submitted. And so once again, the user guide section 2.4 on how to upload, finish that process and get that application submitted properly. It's just a horrible feeling when you talk to a business owner and they think they've done everything they need to do, and there's just one final step that's missing. And they've been waiting for 3 or 4 months to hear anything, and that's because the app hasn't been submitted. After you attest to and submit the completed documentation and everything's submitted, this is telling you how to attest and submit a completed application. You navigate to the overview page, you click on the individual contributors link, then navigate to the invitee section, click the next button, read and complete the declaration form declaring that you're submitting accurate, to the best of your knowledge, you're submitting accurate and true information, and you check that box, you complete the declaration by selecting each checkbox, and then you attest and submit the application. And this has section 2.19 of the user guide. So what I wanted to do is, when they send these PowerPoints out as a PDF, I'm never comfortable that you get the actual link. So I wanted to take you into the knowledge base. When you log into Beta Certify, you'll get these, these options. Home is obviously where you can do the am I eligible, and there's prepare. Well, there's the am I eligible. Federal employees only, you don't want to mess with that. The help gives you a little message where you can send your questions to. And what we're in right now is the knowledge base. It has some little training media of some little movies where you can apply and submit before you apply. And another one that I believe is a little more for federal contracting officers, but that you're not banned from doing it. But on the right-hand side is the user guide. This is where you will find that all-important user guide. Now, if you go further down, you can check on the status of your application. But earlier when I said that once you've got all the documentation in, it will show as pending. It shows as pending until they either approve or decline the application. And still, again, concerned that, you might have trouble finding some things. This is actually SBA.gov, and you go into the woman-owned small business federal contracting link, up at the top, you have federal contracting and you choose woman-owned. And there are free training webinars that you can access from the SBA.gov page as well. So contracting opportunities, let's talk a little bit about that. For a woman-owned and EDWOSB set aside, the first thing the contracting officer has to determine is it assigned to the proper North American Industrial Classification System code. Thank goodness I got that back. The NAICS code. Is there a NAICS code for the requirement they're trying to solicit and use the program for? Now, the woman-owned small business portion of the program, you notice that the woman does not have to be economically disadvantaged. So these are industries that all the surveys and studies that were done before the program was initially launched. These industries are where women-owned small business owners are shown to be substantially underrepresented. And believe it or not, the industries does change because they keep a track. They're tracking the industries to make sure that women-owned small businesses are underrepresented. Now, industries that are confined, funneled down to where you have to be economically disadvantaged are industries where women-owned small businesses are simply underrepresented. So, they open it up. It's kind of like a funnel. Anywhere you're substantially underrepresented, the woman-owned or the EDWOSEB can bid on it. If they're simply underrepresented, it's limited to economically disadvantaged women-owned small businesses. So once the contracting officer is determined that his requirement is in one or the other of these codes, he can use the program to set it aside, but he has to have a reasonable expectation that there will be 2 women-owned small businesses that will submit an offer for the requirement. And the contract must be awarded at a fair and reasonable price, a fair market price. So then, there is a sole source option to this program as well. It is possible for a woman-owned small business to get a sole source award. We just spoke about competition. Now we're discussing sole source. And sole source is where the contracting officer does not solicit the requirement, but he works directly with the woman-owned small business. Once again, it has to have a qualifying industry code. He has to expect that the contract will be awarded at a fair and reasonable price. The contract cannot exceed $7 million for manufacturing or $4.5 million for all other products and services. They cannot sole source anything that is $1 above these amounts, and they have to have the expectation that only one woman-owned small business or economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business can perform the contract. Now, that doesn't mean there's only one woman-owned small business registered. That means that they have a reasonable expectation that they would have to write up a justification and authorization internally and have it approved through their chain of command that only one woman-owned small business is going to have the NAICS code, fair and reasonable price for the contract. And a lot of factors can vary into that, but again, that's a little outside of my realm, but it is something that can internally happen. Sole source woman-owned small businesses, set-aside contracts are not used a lot, but there are actually incidents where it's not just that there's only one woman-owned small business in the world that can, in the country that can do it. So I wanted, we're talking about these industry codes and of course I'm always concerned that these PDFs that you receive, you won't be able to access the links. So I've got you the entire link to the SBA.gov's Woman-Owned Federal Contracting Program, but actually the easiest thing to do is go to SBA.gov, put your cursor over federal contracting and choose the Woman-Owned program. Once you go in there, you want to go to the program benefits section, and right here, this is where you can get the most current list of eligible industries for the program. I know it makes it complicated that it's not for every industry, but this is the easiest way for you to find the most current list, is just go to SBA.gov or SBA.gov, federal contracting, choose woman-owned. So this program, just because you get certified by the SBA for the program, it is not a guarantee of federal contracts. So you have to be proactive and identify federal buyers and get to know them, identify the agency contracting procedures and who makes the contracting decisions, focus on your niche area and prioritize, and make contacts through small business events and network your business. Well, that takes help. You need help to do that. And, besides, the SBA district office is going to do the best they can to help you with our program. But when it behooves you to learn about the federal contracting processes, the regulations and everything else. And it's the procurement technical assistance centers that are the specialists that really specialize in this. When you're doing your first bid for solicitation, they want you, to do your best to fill out the bid as completely as possible, but they don't mind reviewing that bid for you to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's crossed. Because when you bid on a federal contract, if you don't follow the directions exactly, you can be found unresponsive and your bid is just thrown out and not considered. So this right here is the link to find to a PTAC, where you can go in and find your closest PTAC and register for services. You go to their webpage and you get registered for services, and then they have classes and do a lot of hands-on assistance for small businesses that want to do business with the federal government. They advertise the upcoming events that are happening around procurement, networking. Right now, a lot of this is still going on online, but I'm sure things are going to open up. We've had an unusual year, but things appear to be getting better. And once again, there are going to be networking events and things, because the buyers want to use the small businesses and they want to learn about your services. I will give you one hint: when you do go to a in-person event, do not have a trifold, a nice design. Things like that work, of advertising, things like that work for commercial advertising. When you're dealing with the federal government, they want an 8.5 by 11 capability statement. The unique flyers and advertising that work so well in other markets are a hassle for them, because they want to go back to their office, scan these capability statements and send them to the appropriate people in their contracting office. And the PTAC will help you prepare a winning capability statement. You may find you have 4, 5 capability statements, depending on your what you're targeting at certain times. But the one thing the PTAC can't do is help you price your proposal. And you can get assistance with pricing from the Small Business Development Center. In fact, I encourage you to meet with a counselor and just discuss your business and see if they have it and what you'd like to do, not only with the federal government, but commercially. Are you wanting to move? Do you have anything you want to go? The Small Business Development Centers offer classes for you. And in addition to the SBDCs, SBA has the SCORE program. Used to be called the Service Corps of Retired Executives, but now we just call it SCORE because so many of the mentors are not retired. One thing about a SCORE mentor is they are vetted. They have to have shown success in the business world prior to becoming a member, just as SBDC counselors. The SBDC counselors are hired by the SBDC, so naturally they go through a vetting process before they're hired. Well, SCORE is volunteers, and to maintain the integrity of the program, they're vetted as well. So, they want you to get the most out of the woman-owned small business federal contracting program, be able to qualify for set-aside or sole source contracts, build your capacity and grow. And we even have a mentor protege program, the SBA Mentor Protege program, where if you find a large mentor that wants to mentor you, you guys can joint venture on woman-owned set-asides and be considered small, even though your mentor is large. And, you know, there's access to training, and SBA has the guaranteed loan programs as if you need to get a little further along. And so here's just a page, here's a link to the applicant user guide. Like I said, I'm really concerned that you guys may not be able to follow those links. And here's the link to the Beta Certify Knowledge. Here are links to SCORE, the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. There are women business centers and SBA district offices. So they have contact information here. And that's about it. And I am going to apologize that training probably didn't flow as smoothly as I would like, but it is the training that has been provided, and I've thrown a few slides in there, so it might have affected the flow. I think the best thing would be to open this up for some questions and see what you guys have. If you would just put questions in the chat, we can take a look. Does anybody have any questions? Well, while we're waiting for a question, I just want to reiterate that as a woman-owned small business, the type of certification you pursue is going to really be based on the customer, because the federal contracting program is only going to really be relevant if you're wanting to be a prime federal contractor, or if you're subcontracting for a large prime, such as one of the aircraft industries that is using selling to the federal government and subject to subcontracting plans. It's also industry specific, so you want to make sure you qualify industry wise before you apply. The SBA certification is not similar to the somewhere you get a certificate and it's just put it on the wall. It's for a specific purpose.
So Tara, we do have a few questions that have come in. The first question is, do you have a list of NAICS that are being accepted?
It's on that SBA webpage. Yes, I do have it, but all you have to do is go to sba.gov to the program benefits section and go into that link. I showed you, and that is the most updated list, because they are constantly evaluating that, and sometimes there are changes. For example, an EDWOSB may become a WOSB, or a WOSB NAICS might move to an EDWOSB. So it's on SBA's webpage. You just go sba.gov, you put your cursor over the federal contracting, the word federal contracting, go to woman owned, and then look at program benefits, and there'll be a little blue link in there, and that will take you directly to the industry codes.
Okay, so the second question is, so with me being a woman and a disabled veteran, would I be able to apply for both?
For like veteran and woman owned, yes, you can be anything you are. If your industry code is in the woman-owned small business program, you can apply for this program. You being a service disabled veteran, yes, you can. You get that. You might even want to go the service disabled veteran certification first, so that all you have to do is upload that certificate. But first, you want to check your industry code to make sure you're in an industry that qualifies for the woman-owned small business program. And if If you're residing in a hub zone and 35% of your employees are in a hub zone and you qualify for that certification, in the federal marketplace, you can pursue any certification that you qualify for. And it is a benefit to have more. It's not a guarantee of contracts. When you're when the federal government is purchasing, capacity and capability is key. There are no giveaways. But say you're service disabled, you're small, and you're also qualified for the woman-owned federal contracting program as an EDWOSB. Well, when a contracting officer has a $1,000 requirement that he wants to award to you, he gets goaling credit of $1,000 to his small business goaling. He gets goaling credit of $1,000 to the woman-owned, and goaling credit of $1,000 to the service disabled veteran goal. So it does make you more attractive. But again, when you're running a base or supporting the war effort, capacity and quality and performance is key in any purchase.
And for our last question, is there a place to find services needed by the federal government?
Yes, and that would be where you would want to work with your PTAC, make a relationship with the PTAC, because they will help you do searches to see what services. The government does, janitorial, medical services. They'll help you identify who's buying what you do. They have search engines, and they'll even teach you how to do it yourself. And our local PTAC in Kansas has a program called Bid Match, where they'll take your industry codes and do searches for you and alert you to solicitations. But all PTACs have that capability, and they will work with you hand in hand on how to learn how to do that. And help you with who's buying. For example, there is MedCom does the medical for the Army, so you wouldn't be going to the contracting office at the base. You would be going for that. And see, little